Hey everybody, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Ted, and today I'm hanging out with
Ryan.
Dave.
And today we're going to do a video on sharing the spotlight.
Head down to the description below where you can find Nerdarchy the newsletter, gain weekly tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we have a email from viewer suggestion from Charlie, and he's been involved in this campaign where he feels his character is getting the spotlight, and he's afraid that it's going to influence the other players or make them upset that all this stuff is going for his character, and wants to know how to actually deal with it.
He wants to shine it elsewhere other than just on his character.
Right.
Yeah. He keeps trying to move out of the spotlight and it just keeps
falling. It's like getting divine powers, becoming a cleric against your will.
When you didn't want to,
yeah. It's kind of
so,
just like that.
the last two sessions, things have all been revolved around his character, and before it gets to the point where the other players are getting upset, they really like what he's doing. They really like his character, concept, the way he's role playing it. So they're digging on him, and the DM followed that and said, well, let's make the story about him then. And he's afraid that the other players are going to get upset.
Right,
so,
I feel like this can happen a lot in games, especially if one or two players...
The strongest personality characters or players... Well, strongest personality players really tend to do this.
And, they just happen to give the DM something to latch onto, and it makes it easy to come up with stories or revolving around it. Now, so you're going to always have people that don't really care that much. Like, I mean, this niche, this hobby is full of wallflowers. You know what I mean? They're just happy to be at the table.
So there's
some people just want to have the strategic combat, and that's fulfilling to them. They want to be there, hang out with their friends, and I get to be involved in a fight. Cool.
Some people, they'll put a sentence or two of a backstory. Other people, they're gonna write a short story about where they came from. And the latter category are the ones that are gonna do more RPing. They're gonna be up there in the front. And, the former are going to be the ones that hey, as long as I get to play in...
Yeah, sometimes you're just like, Ted, Jesus Christ. God, how many pages did you write?
Yeah, you for that, you need a TLDR.
Too long didn't read.
Yeah.
And that's me. It doesn't matter whether I'm doing a one-shot or a long-standing campaign. I'm going to write a backstory that's appropriate to the level of the character that I'm playing. Dave didn't care about the Blood Hunter character that I made. He was 15th level, so the thing was 4 or 5 pages long. Dave's like, I don't care about this crap.
Bullet one shot.
Get your DM bullet points at that point. The Cliff Notes.
That's what I'm going to have to do for next time. But yeah.
So here's the thing, right? It is fine to have a story-centric or
character-centric
storyline around one character, but you must have things within that story that highlight the other characters. You must have times where the rogue can shine and do his rogue stuff. If you have a face character, he should be able to be up there talking and role-playing and socially interacting. If there's a fighter or barbarian, they should be able to smash things at some point. As long as everyone's getting their chance to play and do the thing that they do, and the story's engaging them, not a problem.
Also, too, say you don't think that the other player would have a problem with you doing this, make shit up related to their character, and remember that time you told me about that thing, basically create plot hooks for the other players. Maybe while you have that time in the spotlight, you can kind of hook somebody else into it, as long as you think they'll be comfortable with it. But you can start to whose line is it anyway, throw some suggestions of shit that actually happened with that character. Remember that one time in Luskin when you got into that bar fight with that, I don't know, he must have had half ogre or half orc blood or something like that, and he broke your nose and all that, so you can create nemesi for the other players, essentially. Maybe you could do that.
A little fun player agency. And then other thing too is just because you start off with the story based around one character, it doesn't mean it can't shift to the other characters, or there could be connecting plot lines that weren't put out there in the beginning. You can rein that in later. You could add things from their backstory to the ongoing storyline and be like, oh, well, what a coincidence. It happens in books and different media all the time.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
I was gonna say. So one of the things to also consider here that we've talked about in other videos. If the other people are having fun at the table with it being focused on you, there's not really a problem to solve. Well, if the players are having fun and everybody's enjoying the material that the DM is providing, just enjoy it. Have fun with the spotlight. Now, if you don't want the spotlight, well, then feel free to talk to the GM and say like, all right, George needs his turn. Shove it that direction.
Well, so another idea too is like, when we're at the table playing characters, we don't play every moment of their lives, right? Like, there could be all these different conversations, all these discussions on tactics, all these different things that, like, as GM, like, I'm more than happy to, like, gloss over, like, yeah, you guys probably have figured out hand signals for doing things, because if you're kind of like an elite military unit in a way, like the things that adventurers do. But that being said, so maybe you can get other characters' backstory and, like, mine things to bring up in the game and, like, that you reference them, and like it'll remind the GM as well, or the DM, that these are things that happen in this character's story that are also fruitful plot hooks that he or she could bring into the game. So again, it's another way of kind of like nudging that spotlight elsewhere, maybe.
Well, and then also going along with that, if you're talking about the spotlight in the sense of RPing, because the NPCs are kind of like drawn to your character because the story's evolved around the character, there's no reason why you as that character can't tap somebody else in your party. Like if they talk about something that's arcane or magic or ancient lore or whatever, why not tap the wizard and be like, hey, what do you think? Blah blah blah. You know, this is right in your wheelhouse. Yeah, do you have any advice? Or if they're going over, some military action that happened in the past, you might talk to the battle master and bring him in on the conversation and go, what do you think of these tactics? How would you done it? How can we defend against that in the future, or whatever it happens to be, or Lothar of the Hill people. We're going, he's talking about going to the hills. What do you know of this region? And if you're in a game where the DM lets you have some agency as well, like this would be a place for these other players to kind of shine and throw in some details that maybe the GM didn't initially think of or the other player didn't, but it gives them a way to interact with the story.
Yeah, like say the battle master has like the history, the proficiency, and like they can tell you about these great battles that happened in ages past or whatever, and they go over like a short narrative of that, and like the GM can hurriedly jot down notes and like make some stuff into the adventure that actually relate to the thing that the battle master just brought into the game. So create space for the other players, and hopefully the GM is receptive to taking notes and cues from what you bring in for these other players or what the players are bringing in, and you can have more equitable sharing of spotlight for everyone.
And hopefully the other players will see in this particular example the GM was trying to highlight what could be done for the players who have gone and stepped up what they're role playing, what information they're providing to the DM. So it was kind of not just against the DM, it was the DM saying, hey players, if you're not doing the extra work, this is what can happen if you do. Right. So if you're a player out there and you've got a GM who's willing to give a spotlight and you want it, step up, do more work, write more backstory, do more RP.
Take it.
Take the spotlight. So
with that, you guys let us know in the comments below, how would you handle it? How have you had to handle it in your games? While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can support us over on Patreon.
You can also check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time, stay nerdy.